have to worry about, if someone's hurt or not. We don't have to do that. Giannis just performs. 32-15, 32-17 and 7 today. 50% from the field. Excellent defense. As the best player in the NBA does. Making light work of a Chicago Bulls team that I was told was going to give people some problems. And boy, DeMar DeRozan definitely showed up today. Also, shout out to Devin Booker. Shout out to Chris Paul. Again, someone who we don't have to make excuses for. He'll go out there and he'll win. He'll win a game at least. He'll definitely win a game, as he should, since he is the most skilled point guard in NBA history, as he should. And yes, I said the most skilled point guard in NBA history. Not that fraud next to Kevin Durant. Not him. But then we get to the Boston Celtics and Brooklyn Nets game. Man, boy, oh boy, what a spectacular outing. First and foremost, I want to give a huge shout out to the Boston Celtics. I apologize to the Boston fans out there that, unfortunately, this is the community that I participate in. That I also, I'm also partially to blame because we should be celebrating the Boston Celtics right now. But unfortunately, what ended up happening is that for the past year, people were lying, and we do have to take the time out to expose the lies. So to the Boston Celtics fans out there, y'all do y'all thing, man. I appreciate it. I had you all winning in this series anyway. I thought that you was going to be 7 because I thought somebody was going to show up. But hey, here we are now. Looks like y'all are on the brink of winning this in a sweep or maybe 5 games. Shout out to the Boston Celtics. Shout out to Jason Tatum. Shout out to that defense. Shout out to everybody in the organization. Definitely was able to bounce back. But boy, oh boy. Yesterday, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving took the floor. Probably didn't know that because they finished the game abysmal. Kevin Durant, 16 points, held to 11 shot attempts. Only got to the free throw line twice. He did get 8 rebounds, 8 assists. My goodness, thank God he got 8 rebounds. The other 2 games, he got 4. Last night he was able to grab 8. 8 assists, but did turn the ball over 5 times. Kyrie, most skilled guard of all time. 16 points while shooting 6 for 17 from the field. 0 for 7 from 3. Not the most skilled. Not him. Not the most skilled. Couldn't be. I want to start off this conversation like this. In the NBA community, we have to do a better job on having basketball conversations. We have to. We must. It is our job to make sure when we have a conversation about basketball that it's not full of just bullshit. People just talking for the sake of talking. We have to have very legitimate conversations. So when we have these conversations, especially the ones that exist of skilled, the dialogue around being a skilled player has to evolve. It has to grow. It has to mature. We are no longer in the 90s or 80s where our conversations have to be rudimentary. The complexity of people's understanding of how the game of basketball should be played has grown over the years. And quite frankly, it's honestly just dumb in general for us to talk about skill in really only one facet of basketball. And that is, how well can you score, or how versatile of a scorer are you when the ball is in your hand? When people talk about skill, that tends to be where the conversation begins and ends. So earlier this week, when when Tracy McGrady said Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are the most skilled duo of all time, he was factually incorrect. The reason why he was incorrect is because you have two players who lack in so many other departments of basketball that there's no way that that can be complete. Chris Paul is a more skilled player, especially at his peak, than Kyrie Irving. Because though he may not put the ball in between his legs and give you all the fancy dribble moves, and he may not look as aesthetically as appealing as Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul still scores just as efficient, and maybe in some regards even more efficient than Kyrie. He does it on several different levels. Well, with the some of the hoopers love to call the five levels of scoring in the paint. Well, what my nigga Cash say? Cash says 5 levels of scoring in the paint, float game, mid range, 3 point, 3 point behind the 3 point, and free throw. Shout out to my man Cash, the bad guy. 5 levels of scoring. There's a different level of understanding here. Chris Paul still does all those things. And he's a passer. Kyrie's not. He knows how to manipulate the defense through his passing. Kyrie doesn't know how to do that. And he defends. Kyrie doesn't. And he does so in various different ways beyond just on ball. The level of communication, reading defense, properly scouting, all those things are skills. Skills. Things that we know for a fact Kyrie does not do on a high enough level to put him in the conversation with Chris Paul. All of those things. But what bothers me even more when we have these conversations, let me first get to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, who, to be fair to KD, he definitely looks probably a foot slower than he normally does, a step slower, excuse me, than he normally does. Probably him aging as well as the Achilles injury that everybody believes that he's the same player as he was before. He's not. He's not. But even at his peak, Kevin Durant wasn't as good as a passer as LeBron. He wasn't manipulating defense as good as LeBron. He wasn't able to read defense as good as LeBron. Those are all skills. He wasn't as good as a rebounder as LeBron. That's a skill. He wasn't a good on-ball defender as LeBron. That's a skill. He's not as good a defending in the passing lane like LeBron. That's a skill. Those are all skills. But because he can put the ball between his legs more aesthetically pleasing than LeBron does, well, then I guess LeBron, he's not as skilled as Kevin Durant, which is even funny to say out loud. The fact that people were making this argument, when I even say something like that, LeBron isn't as skilled as Kevin Durant, the fact that anybody can even utter those words, the fact that someone can even utter those words is by far the most alarming, disgusting bullshit that we've been having as a conversation for the past 2 years now in the NBA community. Because it all started with that egregiously dumb Hooper versus ball NBA player or Hooper versus basketball player conversation. That's where it began. But even if I were to entertain that concept and accept that ideology, as soon as we get to the point where we're stepping into the bounds of saying that the basketball player can't be better than the hooper because the hooper, as basketball don't or ball don't stop, like to say, I forget the gentleman name who runs that horrible platform, as he likes to say, Zach LaVine is better than Giannis because if you put Zach LaVine in the Bucks offense, I mean, he'll be able to close games. His words exactly. He went on to expound on that concept by saying, down the stretch of games, he would literally be able to do tween hezzy splash. For those who don't understand where that concept began, it began when we had an idiot like that who's holding a platform, building his platform off of idiotic logic like that. That Zach LaVine is better than Giannis because of hit tween hezzy splash. That's where it began. And so now here we are several years later, or a couple years later. And when having the dialogue about how good his next team is for 2 years now, I know for a fact I've been one of the loudest people telling you, hey, it's almost unheard of. Actually, I take that back. It is unheard of for a team to win a championship and not be competent defensively. I was told defense doesn't actually even matter, that as long as you're so great offensively, you can be fine on defensive end. It's fine. You don't have to worry about that. The rationale that had to go through people's mental to convince themselves that the one aspect of basketball that has been constant over decades and decades and decades now goes out of the window. Why? Tween hezzy splash. That's why. I'm being told that Kevin Durant is better than Giannis. Why? Tween hezzy splash. I'm being told Kyrie Irving is the most skilled scorer of all time. Why? Tween hezzy splash. I'm being told that this is the most skilled duo of all time. Why? Tween hezzy splash. That's why. That's why. What's even more concerning is that when we have idiots who have these conversations in the community, they're not even concerned of the result of the tween hezzy splash. It can be tween hezzy brick, but as long as the tween hezzy looks good to them, well, I know you a hooper. I ain't got to worry about if you miss or make those shots. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I don't really care. Don't care. I do not care. Because I know for a fact Giannis can't give me a tween hezzy like that. So you're better than him. You're a real hooper. Interesting. Interesting. So here we are now. Tween hezzy splash ain't splashing. And it's looking bad. Like really bad. So bad that I'm not even going to sit here and say that this is always who KD has been, because that would be a disservice to who he has been throughout his career. But for when people make this argument that Kevin Durant is such a great player that there's never ever you can't scheme against him. You just can't do it. It's impossible. Hey, do you not remember 2016 OKC? You don't remember that when they blew a 3-1 lead and they were shrinking the floor on Kevin Durant, and he was making sure that he was keeping his dribble alive, and he's trying to turn into a passer. And then you know they basically helping off non-shooters because the OKC's offense was horrible. You probably telling yourself, but low, you got to give him some credit though. Like, come on, you got to put some blame on the coaching staff, right? Because the Brooklyn Nets offense is terrible. I was told from Kyrie Irving that they don't need a coach. That Kyrie can be the coach. Kevin Durant can be the coach. That's what I was told. I was told from Kyrie Irving himself, not fans, not media members, not the front office, not Kyrie Irving himself said, "I don't really think we don't really need a coach. I can be a coach. Kevin Durant can be the coach." Kyrie Irving, who played alongside LeBron James, had the audacity to say, "This is my first time in my career where I can look down and say that motherfucker can make that same shot too. Clean close out the game like I can. He can do it. Mind you, LeBron James, undeniably, and if you still can't grasp this concept, honestly, I'm gonna just say it right now, you're dumb. LeBron James is at worst the third best closer the game has seen in the past 20 years. And I would have more than enough evidence to prove that he actually is the best closer the game has seen in the last 20 years. And Kevin Durant is not ahead of him. But hey, this is what they wanted. I don't. I look at KD and Kyrie. I look at them like, hey, this is what you wanted. You both were in better situations. That's the thing that also bothers me. These two were in situations where they wanted to complain. Kevin Durant, who when he's on his burner talks a certain way, but when he's actually out and about talks another way. Bro, this is what you wanted. You wanted to be on a team with more skilled players. You got it with the Warriors. Then I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate what happens. Something happens, or you just let's say you want to move on. You then left to go to another team because you want to control your destiny. That's fine. But you were on the team already. You were on the team. The team that's so structured that they're literally still pulling. The Warriors are literally just pulling talented players out of their ass. Jordan Poole out of nowhere. I don't know if y'all really peep Kuminga, but oh yeah, he give him another year or two. Oh yeah, he gonna be something else too. Wiggins looking like a legitimate. Not I don't. I'm dragging with the All Star a little bit, but certainly a better version of Harrison Barnes, in my opinion. Out their ass, they just making players better. You had that, you ran from it. You didn't want it anymore for whatever reason. Kudos to you. You got it. But when you get to the situation now, I'm not going to sit here and let you like this is what you wanted. Kyrie Irving, this is what you wanted. You wanted out of Cleveland as they were playing alongside LeBron James. You wanted out of Cleveland so badly that you were going to basically tell them, "Hey, if you don't trade me, I'm going to have a season-ending surgery." That's how badly you wanted it. You got it. Then you went to an organization that's well ran, had the pieces surrounding you. All they needed is veteran leadership. That's all really the Boston Celtics needed. A team that is well coached, well defensive oriented, great philosophy. You had it. Didn't want it. I can't blame y'all want me to blame y'all want me to blame somebody else but those two. I can't blame nobody else but those two. Because this is what they wanted. They wanted to go out there and hoop. That's what they wanted. Fair enough. Actually, fuck it. I mean, if that's what they want, cool. That's fine. But when we get to the point when it's time to quote unquote be a hooper, bro, the results can't be what we're looking at right now. They just can't. Especially when everyone, including myself, hold them to such a well, I mean, let me not say a such, but how holds them to a high enough regard to where how they're performing right now is really, really bad. Kyrie and Kevin Durant are having the worst postseason performances of their careers alongside one another on a team that they wanted to play for. I've never, ever, ever seen these two perform this poorly in my life. But I can't say anything else about anybody else because this is what they wanted. And guess what? It is okay. It's okay. But another thing we have to stop doing is just believing the NBA players know everything, just know everything that's best for them. They can be wrong, and it's okay if they're wrong. They're human beings. We're not going to treat them like they're this omnipotent being and they just know all. No, they don't. They might not know all. It's fine to have a coach on the side who can give you another perspective on how the offense is being ran or how the defense is being set up against you. It's fine to be coach. I don't know why Kyrie was so against the concept of being. That never, to this day, I don't actually understand why he said that he doesn't really see Nash as being the coach because anybody. I don't really understand that concept. I genuinely don't. Actually, I genuinely don't. But the one thing I will blame many people in the community is how they set up this whole situation. Because the fact that you all lied about who Kevin Durant was and how he almost single-handedly did whatever he might have did last year, and y'all never ever hold KD to any of the same standards that y'all hold everybody else to when y'all are having these conversations, especially the ones who are the greatest or the best player in the NBA at the time. Y'all just don't hold Kevin Durant to the same standard, which is the reason why I never, ever take people serious who claim that he is the best player in the league. I never take him serious. I can't because everything that people say and do says otherwise. Because the best player in the NBA could never, ever in a game 7 go into overtime and shoot 0 for 6. That could never, ever happen. It can never, ever happen that same player will proceed to go on to lose 4 more games against the actual player who is the best player in the NBA, and y'all still hold that stance. And here we are now, and the audacity that anybody would even fix their lips on Steve Nash. To blame Steve Nash for what's occurring now is ridiculous. Kevin Durant is a great player, but he's not the player that y'all keep making him out to be. He's just not. He's not. That's okay. That is fine. If Kevin Durant is not greater than LeBron or Giannis on a year-to-year basis or better than LeBron and Giannis, it's okay. LeBron literally has some of the greatest peak years of all time. It's fine if he doesn't compare to that. The fact that he may be even in a conversation some years actually does a lot of justice to how great Kevin Durant is. And it is fine if right now Giannis is better than KD. It's fine. The fact that we might even view it as debatable again speaks to how great Kevin Durant is because Giannis is peaking right now at a historic level. It's fine. It's okay. But the fight that some people fight for Kevin Durant while not holding him to the same standard that they hold everybody else to, it has to stop today. Really last night. And I'm happy it is. And finally, before we bring some people up here, moving forward, I would like the dialogue in the NBA community to change in terms of how we discuss basketball because the way that some people talk about why a team or a player is supposed to do this or that. Why? Because he did some was because his resume, because something he did 5 years ago. What does that have to do with where we are right now? Kevin Durant, he's gonna really go off. Why? Oh, he's pissed. What does that mean? What does that mean? Why can't you explain to me how he's going to counter the defense? Why are you not going to explain to me how he needs to explode going right so they don't trap him to force him to go left? Why don't you explain these things? But he's pissed. Why? What does that do? What does that mean? Why can't we have a much deeper conversations between people on Twitch, people on YouTube, people in Twitter Spaces, and the ESPN analysts, Fox analysts, all these other people. There's way too much basketball. All the other podcasts. There's way too much dialogue being had about basketball. Like, nigga, we're on a podcast for hours. We're in Twitter space for hours. We got time. Explain to me what's going to happen. Why is he going to say it? Why is he going to play better? He's pissed. What does that mean? What does that mean? Jeez. And what's even crazier is, I swear, I love Kobe Bryant. This is the same thing that happened to Kobe in 2011, where he ended up getting swept by the Dallas Mavericks. And I vividly remember on TV about a decade later, Stephen A. Smith still saying the same bullshit. The Lakers, they not gonna get swept now because Kobe, he gonna get a win. He gonna get a win. It's like, come on, well, but why? He's pissed. Why? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? I guess somebody can maybe be upset at how they performing, but how are they going to counteract the defense that's being shown to them? Like, why? Like, have a discussion. Damn.